It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
We had a plan of attack for what we wanted to do, and we accomplished that. We addressed positions, not just in needing this year, sort of looking ahead to next year, depth that might become starters, or just, general filling needs in advance of what could come. Again, we had a really good process where we combined all our information from personnel and coaching, really collaborative effort. And so that's what I'm most proud of, setting the vision for the team and then ultimately executing it like we did in this draft.
See, now he's just trolling Judd. Just trolling Judd.
Crazy?
Gather all the information, collaborate, and then make decisions. Judd would say, bleep the scouts, bleep all of my other front office compadres.
I'm
going to lock myself in a room and make unilateral, dictatorial decisions.
No, that's not true. That's not true. Now, would I look to Ryan Grigson for help? Probably not. That's probably true. But I would have my scouts close by helping me out. Ryan Grigson,
I think
maybe.
Ryan Grigson, you just need guys who look like football guys standing around sometimes, right?
Damn right.
Dower.
Ryan Grigson.
Just like, I eat footballs for breakfast.
That's right. Well, this is, speaking of eating footballs for breakfast, that's us every day on Purple Daily here. Daily Vikings Entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. Thanks to all of you. This was just a huge weekend going back to the Surly draft party on Thursday night. That wound up being the biggest episode in the history of Purple Daily. The on-site festivities were fantastic, even if the weather got to be a little bit ridiculous there in the last couple hours. And then, just some of the numbers across YouTube and podcast have been some of the best that we've seen over a 3 or 4 day stretch. So thank you guys, and stick with us because we're not going away. This is a daily Viking show, even though we've entered sort of the slower part of the offseason. We got the schedule release, we got minicamp, OTAs, and all kinds of other fun stuff, presented in part by our friends at TCL, one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. They have a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. All right, what are the experts saying about the Vikings now that the draft and really the offseason is complete, boys? There's still maybe a couple other things that could be done, but this is pretty much the team.
Yeah.
They've added some free agents draft, right?
You're right.
So let's actually start with just the overall team here. Because you might be wondering, all right, they made all these changes. They fired everybody. They swapped out some pieces on defense. They drafted defense. They added an offensive-minded coach. Okay, so how much more can they climb from the 8 wins they won last year? Well, the sports books still have the Vikings around 8.5 wins after the draft. So Bet365.com has them at 8.5. Now, Mike Clay, who is an ESPN analytics writer who does his own projections, he has the Vikings at 9.3 wins, and the Packers sitting around 11.5 wins or so. Lions and Bears both around like 5 to 6 wins. So the ranges I've seen in the sports books, 8.5. Mike Clay has them at 9.5, 9.3, 9.5. What do you think about the experts, both in Las Vegas and with ESPN.com, saying, nice job, congratulations, but it's like 8 or 9 wins still?
So I think we started the 2021 season talking about this same exact thing, and I want to say Vegas said what, Phil? 7.5, 8 wins for the Vikings?
It was 8,
and at the time, and at the time I said, I think they're going to win more than that. I don't like it. Vegas can certainly be wrong, see the Wolves projections, but they also are very smart about these things. So I totally get it. Like, I get where they're coming from. I get that they look at the offense and don't feel the same way that the front office of the Vikings and coaching staff does, which is that KOC can take the offense and basically propel it way up because it was so poorly coached in 2021. But I think around 8 or 9, I think around 9 probably is accurate right now. I think around, because it's a first-year coach, right? So there's lots of stuff to see. You're changing the defense, which I think should be improved, but like, is it going to take massive steps? I doubt that. I think because it was, awful. 30th last season? I think it could get up to, high 20s or low 20s, I should say, or the teens. But until I see this whole thing, and especially this offense, come together, I think Vegas is probably on the right track. I'm loath to say, oh, it's 12 wins. That's what that's what they're planning for. That's what the Vikings clearly think can take place. But until we start to actually see this team play now and what the schemes begin to look like and how much Kevin O'Connell's presence changes Kirk Cousins, I'd say around 9 wins.
The Vikings defense, just for clarification, was 24th in scoring defense and 27th in yards per play. So they weren't like New York Jets bad defensively, but they were bad. They were bottom third of the league bad. So, all right, Dex, how do you feel about this? They've done all these things, and sportsbooks are like, nice job. Okay, 8.5 still. Prove it.
Yeah, no, I mean, from a Vegas side, it makes perfect sense because, I mean, the Vikings haven't won double-digit games in a long time, and 9's probably the safe bet to assume there. I think they are right at about 10 wins. I think they're at 10 wins going in now that they've completed their draft, and even if they can still add one more piece, like the fact they didn't add a wide receiver, like I don't love that in the draft, or at least didn't add a wide receiver on days 1 and 2 because I know they took one on day 3. They're banking on that offense being a top 5 unit, and also like you can still see a flurry of like last minute signings here. Like we've seen this for years. Like Sheldon Richardson got brought in at the last minute, right? Like Everson Griffin signed at the beginning of training camp. So there could still be pieces that could be added here with NFL other free agents that are still on the board. But I have this team at 10 wins. As it's right now, I have it at 10 wins.
Yeah, my initial instinct, so just to go back to the beginning of the NBA season, when Vegas put out the over-unders for the NBA season, and I saw the Timberwolves at 34.5, I was like, really? They played above 500 down the stretch when they finally had Chris Finch. This is, a season ago. When they finally had Chris Finch and they finally had everyone healthy. And they've only added pieces, Patrick Beverley in the offseason. Just like, what? Anthony Edwards is going to get better. It was just obvious to me that barring some sort of ACL tear to Karl Anthony Towns, you got to hammer the over. And my instinct was right on that. Mm-hmm. I don't have quite that strong a feel because I think I felt like the Wolves were a 500 team or better, which means they were going to win 41 games or more, and the over-under is at 34.5. Mash the over, and hopefully some people did. I don't have a strong enough take to say that, oh my God, 8.5. This is a 13-win team in sheep's clothing. Why are you not hammering the over? But I would definitely be betting the over on 8.5 here. You've got. Let's start with the defense alone. The biggest reason why the defense was atrocious last year was inside 2 minutes of each half. They were historically bad. Like, no team in the NFL's history has given up more points, at least since they started tracking this stuff, 30 years ago, situationally. No team has given up more points in the final 2 minutes of the first or second half than the 2021 Minnesota Vikings defense. By just running the season back again, you will see regression. It's just most of it was disorganization and bad play, but there was some luck built in there. But if you ran that season back 100 times, that is the worst outcome you would have late in the first and second half, okay? So just cleansing yourself from 2021, but then you bring in a new scheme, a new coordinator. Kevin O'Connell's going to have some ideas based on where he comes from football background-wise on what the Vikings should do defensively, even though he's going to be more focused on the offense, right? Instead of operating in a culture of fear, you're going to be operating in a culture of collaboration and kumbaya. So all these things. And that doesn't even bring us to the personnel. You swap out the worst slot cornerback, Mackenzie Alexander, in the NFL for someone a little bit closer to league average, at least, and competent. You swap out Michael Pierce, who played 251 snaps in 2 years with the Vikings, for a guy, Harrison Phillips, who's going to play double that minimum if he stays healthy in just 1 year. I think Jordan Hicks is better than Anthony Barr. So all the things they've done, the 2 draft picks and the defensive back in the first and second round, this will be, I'm not saying the third best defense in the league, but this will not be the train wreck defense we saw last year. And offensively, it's hard not to look at the line and say, well, Darisaw for a full season getting better. You got actual professional right guard options now compared to Oli Udoh. And Kirk Cousins operating with an offensive-minded, collaborative coach, Judd's favorite word, collaboration. I don't see how it's not more wins than last season at this point. So hammer the over, but don't bet your entire family and mortgage on my betting advice at the same time. I mean, am I looking at this wrong? I mean, there's going to be some things that happen, right? Injuries happen. Daniil Hunter hasn't played a full season in 3 years, but
Right.
8.5 seems light.
Here's where I think we're not probably factoring in enough. Kwesi and O'Connell are both new. So, like, best case, they're great. Worst case, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. Kevin O'Connell has never coached a game on game day. Like, there are things that can go wrong. There are decisions, and it's not simple. Like, it's not. Zim wasn't just this incompetent old buffoon. Like a lot of what he did is problematic for a lot of people. And like the best game day guys make it look simple. God bless them. They're great. But it looks simple. It's not. So I guess what I need to see, and I need to see this just start to unfold with games, is like, does O'Connell hit the ground running like McVay did? Because, clearly he was gifted. Or does he struggle a little bit, which won't be a huge shock, and have to learn? So like that's the one thing that if I was trying to set the odds or the potential wins for the Vikings, where I wouldn't be too optimistic until I knew what everyone was capable of right now, which is impossible to until they actually play.
Yeah, and
that makes sense.
And Mike Zimmer, I think Mike Zimmer's value as a head coach was more his value in the last year was very minimal.
Right.
But in his 8 years in totality, I think it was mostly about defensive scheming and game planning and defensive adjustments in game on the fly. But I don't think of him as this great game manager, this John Harbaugh type who's pulling all the right strings. He was pretty aggressive on fourth down, but he wasn't a chess master with game theory and timeout conservation and things like that. So, yeah, I agree. There's definitely a huge learning curve from being a coordinator to a head coach that also calls plays and all those things. But I don't know that the bar is all that high to clear for him based on what we saw the last couple of years with Zimmer.
Sure.
So what about?
But I mean, 8-9 wins. Like until I see it. Like I can't go to 10, 11, or 12 until I see that what they think is going to work actually starts to work.
Yeah, and we will. The schedule comes out in 10 days from now. Doesn't it come out on May 12th?
I love this league. And I'm not being sarcastic.
Are you going to mock a schedule on scorenorth.com?
Oh, we've got a mock schedules, right?
A listener DM'd me an entire mock schedule this morning.
Yes.
What?
An entire mock schedule.
Yes.
Do you have
Want me to
it?
get it? I do.
I want a mock. Props.
Is it easily accessible?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, let's fly through it.
Should I do this?
it.
All right, let's fire some music here. Here we go.
All right, this is
I love this show.
Random listener sliding into Declan's DMs.
Our
Who's
listeners are
the
so
listener?
awesome.
Curtis Harrison.
Okay.
At Curtis Harrison. He DM'd me this morning. Not sure where the best place to email for Purple Daily is, vikingseventline@gmail.com. But here is my mock schedule.
Okay,
And
we're going to pick these two.
And guess what? He also has the wins and losses on this schedule. This dude went above and beyond.
Okay, let's fly through this real quick here. And let's pick the games. Okay.
I'm also going to get a piece of paper out here and pull a Judd Zolgad.
I'm doing the same.
All right.
Oh, I just bought this notepad at Cub. It's great.
Week 1.
Okay.
Home against the New York Giants.
Oh, it's a win.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I agree.
Giants.
Dex?
I have that as a win. Yes.
Okay.
W. Week 2, away at Miami.
That's a tough one, but I actually think that their new head coach, he seems like the comedic relief assistant coach guy. I don't know that he's going to be the head coach guy.
There's a lot of brain power, too.
I think it's
outside
a win
the
for
brain
Vikings.
power. It would be like hiring Meade to run an NFL team. I don't think that's a good idea.
But you know what? It's probably their first home game then.
Yeah.
They're actually not a bad team. It's on the road.
I'm going loss.
I'm going Dolphins. I'm going Vikings if the game was here.
Okay. I'm going loss.
It's a loss for you guys. All right.
So
by the way, win-win so far for Curtis, too, by the way. He has them at 2-0. Back at home for week 3 against the Colts. Matty Ice.
Boy, that's a tough one early in the season. It kind of depends on how quickly Matty Ice picks up. That's a really good team. I'm going to say that's a loss at home, actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm going win. Excitement, loud stadium, Kirk firing on all cylinders at home. I'm going win. Dex?
All right. Yeah, I have that as a win. I don't buy the Colts. I don't buy it for a second. Week 4.
I love when you do that.
Great evaluation.
They
there.
suck.
Yeah, they suck.
Terrible.
It's like the Bengals. Bengals are
really
awful.
Good. It's a really good team, actually. That's fine.
Yeah. It's my Stu Gotts in me. Yeah, that's a win. I don't care. Week 4, still at home against Detroit. Just win.
Oh, it's a
Everyone
win. Yep.
wins a win. Okay, cool. Jameson Williams gonna catch 200 yards. All right. Week 5, on the road, New Orleans.
In London.
Potentially. Right, like
I think that's. I think there's a lot of steam there.
yeah, that's not confirmed, but there is
This
legitimate
schedule
steam there.
this is a cake schedule. That's a win. That's a win.
Phil's exactly right. And yes, that's a win.
Okay, I have that as a loss.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I have that as a
I
loss.
think they beat the Saints.
I think they're going to lose to the Saints, whether it's in London or New Orleans.
Interesting.
I think that's a loss.
Okay.
Week 6 at Buffalo.
That's a loss.
Yeah.
That's a loss. Okay.
We all agree.
That's the toughest game on their schedule.
Easily. Bills Mafia. Week 7, home against the Cardinals. Kyler Murray.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, I think that's a really tough one. I'm gonna say that's a loss. Or if you get the Cardinals in the early part of the schedule, it's tough. They don't melt down until like halfway through November.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I'll agree. It's a loss.
All right. I'm going with a win at home.
Okay.
They'll beat the Cardinals at home.
All right.
Staying at home in Week 8 against the Bears.
Yep. Win.
Win? I'm going to go with a win there. I think Justin Fields does take steps forward, but I'm going to go with a win if it's at home.
I would agree. Win.
Week 9 in Detroit.
Win.
At Detroit.
They lost
Not a
there?
pushover, but it's a win.
You know what? I'm going loss. I'm going loss there.
All right. I'm going win. I'll go win. I love me some Man Campbell, but I'll go win. They'll
Okay.
avenge that disaster that happened last year.
Okay.
Week 10 is the bye. So he has mocked
He's
a
got
bye.
the bye. Oh,
at
this
week
guy's great.
10.
Good work.
All right. So now we go to Week 11 in Philadelphia. Eagles.
You know,
on the road.
Philadelphia is building something interesting. That's a really tough place to play. It's a loss for the Vikings.
I have it as an L2 dog. That's a loss.
You know what? Not me. I'm going win in Philly. I think Philly regresses
a little bit?
I'm not a big fan of the coach. I think he's going to get exposed more.
You got to
this
talk to
season.
our guy Artis on Friday nights. Big Eagles fan. We were talking at the draft
Really?
on him. Oh yeah, big Eagles fan.
Oh, I didn't know
big
that.
Jalen Hurts guy. Big Jalen Hurts stan.
Nice.
Big Jalen Hurts stan.
Good for artists. He's awesome. Okay.
Week 12, back at home against the Jets. That win. I'm not even gonna blink.
Yeah, that's a win.
Win. Expose me here in months when that
Declan
inevitably
just
goes
takes
wrong.
these huge shots at teams. It's great. They suck. Not gonna blink.
First Packers game at home, Week 13. At home, U.S. Bank Stadium, Week 13.
Loss.
Oh,
I think I'm going to spoil the later pick, but I think they split with the Packers this year again. So
okay. I'm going to take it as a win, and same philosophy as Phil there.
Christian Watson,
that's a
3
win.
touchdowns.
Right. Week 14 in Chicago.
oh, there's always a weird. They're not going 5-1 in the division. There's always a weirdo one in there somewhere. So this is a loss for me.
Yeah, I'm just going to take it as even though the Vikings have played better at Soldier Field.
You know what? I'm going?
Last few years.
New coach, new culture, win at Soldier Field.
Dax, it's a loss for you.
It's a loss for me. It's a
Okay.
loss for me. Week 15 back at home against the Patriots. At home against New England in Week 15.
Boy, yeah, the Patriots are going to be competitive, but for now, it's a win for the Vikings.
Yeah, I have it as a win as well.
Belichick 1, KOC 0.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Week 16 in Washington against the Commanders.
Win. Oh, that's a Kirk. That's a
Yep,
Kirk
like
special
that.
right there, man.
Yeah.
I'm Yep.
I'm circling that so far as his trap game for me.
No. The
I
commies.
loathe Carson Wentz with my entire being. If you don't think I don't like Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz is on a
You're filled
completely
with
different
hate and
level.
rage, Declan.
All right. So it's a
He's
loss for
terrible.
Dex. Judd.
Win.
The loss. Yeah.
That's a Kirk game. And a KOC game.
All right. Two more left here. Week 17, the last home game of the year against the Dallas Cowboys.
Win.
I'm going to go with a win, too. They'll get right. Cooper Rush isn't playing, so I'm going to go with a win.
I am going to go loss.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Final game, Week 18 in Lambeau Field.
Yeah, it's a loss. It's a loss for me, but I don't think it matters.
Okay.
I don't think it
I have it
matters.
as a loss as well.
I'm going to go. That's a game that they will win. They will come back from the
Wow.
disappointment of Dallas. I think that some things are going to change here. So I've got him at 10-7.
You got him at 10-7. Dex has him 10-7. I just put him on 11-6 right there. So there we go.
That's pretty much par for the show, though.
We get to
that's fairly consistent.
I'm like a one win more optimistic.
It's not ridiculous.
Than you guys.
Curtis has them at 12-5.
It's a weak schedule.
It's a really weak schedule.
It's one of the weaker schedules you're going to find around the NFL.
It looks weak. Like, that's the one thing because the second half can change so much. But right now, you're right.
Yeah, there's not a lot of great quarterbacks on there.
What if the Jets are good?
Come on now.
I'm just saying.
The Jets?
What? Yeah, I think he's a decent coach, and they've actually got some personnel now in place. I'm throwing it out there. There's always a couple of teams that we think are going to be really good who really disappoint, and then a couple teams that we think are going to disappoint who pop up and have nice seasons.
You know what the cool thing is? When you have debates about sports like this, there are ways to settle debates. And one of those ways, underdog fantasy. We just discovered the best and easiest way to get a sweat on games. A great way to play fantasy sports, both tonight or long term. Underdogfantasy.com lets you draft a fantasy team in minutes for games tonight or for the season. You can play pick'em games. For instance, if you think, maybe you think tonight, I haven't looked at the schedule, but maybe there's a player in the National Basketball Association that you like to go over a certain point total. For instance, you can put your money down. Sign up now with the promo code SCORE, SKOR, and Underdog Fantasy will double your first deposit up to $100 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit of $10 or more. Deposit $100, get $100 for free. Judd's already making his picks for tonight.
I'm doing it right now.
Is it right now?
I'm doing
Some
it right now.
hockey picks in there.
Over under on Wild Blues right now.
Old Dex Tweets has had a little bit of trouble on the pick'ems, but he has been raking in some cash on these fantasy drafts and best ball. That part's been great.
Really?
Yeah.
But man,
good for
you guys. Promo code SCORE, SKOR, so A, you can get the hundo for free, and B, you can support us. That would be awesome. Judge, show us your screen there. Are you, what do you got
it
there?
right now? Can you see
Look
it?
at that.
Kaprizov.
Beautiful.
I've got some Braden Shen. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And Ryan Hartman, over under 2.5 shots.
So easy. So also our friends at Dennis Kirk, it's the weather feels like it's finally turning, kind of. But Dennis Kirk is all about helping you ride into riding season with the apparel and parts that you need, over 160,000 parts in stock. And also they have free shipping on orders over $89 and same-day shipping on orders placed before 8 p.m. So whether it's a Harley, Indian, Metro Cruiser, sport bike, you'll find what you need at DennisKirk.com. Ride more, wait less at DennisKirk.com. All right, thanks. That was a great. Love a mock schedule right there.
What a great,
yeah.
what a
Good
great
stuff, man.
listener.
Great stuff. So as far as draft grades go, Judd, you kind of compiled this list here.
Yes.
Mel Kiper gave the Vikings a B-. Bleacher Report gave the Vikings a B. NFL.com gave the Vikings an A-. PFF gave the Vikings a B. USA Today gave the Vikings a B. So everyone's kind of like, you didn't knock it out of the park, but pretty darn good job, Kwesi, in your first draft. Todd McShay loved 2 picks in particular for the Vikings. He loved getting Booth in the second round. McShay said, I put him at 27 on my board, so the Vikings getting him 10 picks into round 2 is great, and they need someone like him at cornerback. He also added, I have to mention my guy, Ty Chandler. I really wanted to make him Minnesota's best pick of the draft. The North Carolina running back has a 4.38 40 speed and makes cuts without gearing down. That's right, cuts without gearing down.
I know what that means. That one I know right away.
And he's a smooth pass catcher out of the backfield. I think he could end up as the best value pick at running back in the 2022 class.
Nice.
So how do you feel about the way that the experts feel about the Vikings draft? And we can, if you want to recreate the same fight we just had on Mackey and Judd about the second round trade with the Packers, I mean,
No. I feel like that was good, but I can't. No. I feel that we're at a very good place with that now on M&J. I feel.
Do they start carving Christian Watson's Hall of Fame bust now, or do you wait until training camp?
You just wait until he's doing the gritty in the end zone, rubbing it in your face after catching the 3rd touchdown pass at Lambeau against your defensive backfield.
Quit perpetuating a culture of fear, Judd Zolgad.
culture of fear, culture of common sense is what Judd Zolgad perpetuates. All right, so it's one day. I mean, these grades are the greatest thing because it's like this instant, yeah, that's a great draft, not a great draft. But I think the consensus is probably fair. I think, because I will say this, after like the second round, we have no idea. The experts don't know. The only thing that I gauge from my personal perspective in trying to look at an entire draft is positions and where guys are taken for the most part. And I do think it's interesting, and I think it's very telling that between the free agency period and the draft, right? A team that is going to have an offensive coach went all in on defense. Like they were, I believe, 5 of the first 6 picks of their 10 picks in the draft, defense.
Yep.
And so I think it's incredibly telling, and probably smart too, but incredibly telling how bad they think the personnel on this defense was. And I guess my biggest question now off of this draft class is, what does this say about who they're going to take a good long look at and who they think has a chance to help them from the 2021 class, which, if I'm not mistaken, went 11 players deep, right? So like there's a whole nother, beyond Darisaw and a couple of guys, like there's like basically 2 draft classes here. And I'm curious, from watching practice film and what the coaching staff and Kwesi have watched, what they think of the opportunity for a lot of people that didn't play from last year's draft class is to contribute this season.
Well, I think, too, if you look at, the personnel was in question. But I think the age curves are coming into play here, too. You got Eric Kendricks is going to be 30 years old, and Harrison Smith is well over 30, and Patrick Peterson hasn't been in his prime for a few years, still serviceable. And those guys' contracts are all toward the end. So you get an old safety, an old cornerback, an old linebacker, and with their first 4 defensive picks in the first 5 picks, so they had 4 defensive players drafted in the first 4 rounds, and they drafted a safety, 2 cornerbacks, and a linebacker. So they're aligning those draft picks with their old, aging, big contract players. That seems... To me, that seems like you're finding, especially with your first 2 picks, you're finding good players and you're aligning them with some long-term positions of need, and cornerback being a premium position there too. So, but then I think the reason why they didn't get A's across the board, if you look at the consensus big boards and you look at Pro Football Focus big boards, they actually were sort of bottom 5 or 6 in value. Now, again, that's
right.
Value. That's perceived value on the consensus big boards. If the Vikings are right about Ed Ingram, no one's going to say, well, yeah, but, he was 99th on the consensus big board and you got him 59th. And so you really reached by about 40 picks there. If he turns out to be a starting right guard or left guard for you for 5 years, no one's going to care. But right now, this is sort of all we have to go off of. What else do you guys need to see this offseason to, is this everything? Free agency, the draft? Are you pretty much, is your opinion about the 2022 Vikings sort of set in stone, or are there things that can happen during all these offseason workouts that could move your opinion off of the 10 wins that you guys had or the 11 wins that I had just flying through this mock schedule?
What I would like to see, and the one thing, at least one area where I don't think I'm comfortable at all, and this is going to shock everybody out there, center. So is Reed now going to scoot from possibly being your starting right guard and compete with Bradbury at center, and Ingram is going to start at right guard? If that is not the case, if Reed is going to be your starting right guard and Garrett Bradbury is basically going to go into the offseason program uncontested, I don't like that at all. That concerns me. I think there are areas of this offense that, no question, better scheme, play calling, and coaching can definitely help. Garrett Bradbury, I'm pretty sure by now, guys, is who he is. So yes, if they brought in a veteran center, I don't know who they would. I can't think of a name. Phil, there's a guy that you like, right? What's his name?
Yeah, I believe his name is J.C. Treader. Yes,
Thank you very much. J.C. Treader, contractually obligated by Phil Mackey to bring him up at least once per show. But that would be the one place. So, I like what they did defensive backfield-wise It seems like there's a lot more, if not stability, then just depth there. I like what they've done at the guard spots. Again, I think the offensive line outside of Bradbury now is at least appears to be in pretty good shape. I would have liked to have seen them bring in another receiver higher than they did, but I'm not gonna like melt down and quibble with it. So center is the one area where I still have big time questions, and I'm curious if they really think that they can somehow turn Garrett Bradbury into a functional player when they're about to pass up the opportunity to pick up his fifth-year option, which is the reason why you take guys in the first round now.
Yeah. You know, I did post this too. Just as another question for you guys. Let's call it the Monday poll on Purple Daily. I know, a really original, clever name. The Monday poll on my Twitter account at Phil Mackey. So before I give you the results here, I think the Vikings finished 5 games behind the Packers last season in the division. Packers won 13, Vikings won 8. I think the Vikings have closed that gap considerably this offseason. You know, Packers lost 2 starting defensive players to the Vikings, including Zadarius Smith. And then they lost Devontae Adams to the Raiders in the trade. They don't really have a number 1 wide receiver. They were ravaged by injuries too and still won 13 games. So, you know, they'll have some injured guys coming back to help them next year. I don't want to ignore that fact. But they've lost some key pieces and haven't necessarily replenished the cupboards in the way that maybe the Packer fans had hoped. The Vikings, we've already gone over all their moves. So I think the gap is closed. I posed the question to Vikings fans, where do the Vikings and Packers stack up now that the offseason's mostly complete? 43% say the Packers are now 1 to 2 games better as opposed to 5 last year.
Yep.
23% still think the Packers are 3 to 5 games better. 20% say that they're even now. And 15% say that the Vikings are now better than the Packers. What do you guys think?
I think if the Packers remain 5 games better than the Vikings this coming season, it's a disaster. Like, it's a complete disaster. I've been saying for 2 years now, 2 straight years, I have been telling you guys, I've been pounding this table and saying the Packers are going to come back to the pack. Rodgers is not as good, or he's not happy, or he's going to screw things up, or something's going to happen. I'm done, because in those 2 years, I believe in the regular season, they've won a combined 26 games. I think the Packers are better than the Vikings, but I think it should be by 2 games. So like 5 games is ridiculous. They should not be. I think 2 games.
You'd like to think that eventually, though. I mean, I understand where Judd's coming from. Don't want to get burned. I think I echoed a similar statement last year. Eventually, this team's going to regress to some mean, right? Like, they have won 12, 13 games 4 years in a row. Like, they've been dang good under Matt LaFleur, at least.
Yeah.
And eventually, they're going to come down a little bit. I'm with Judd. I think it is closer. Like, the Vikings should probably be at least 2 wins worse, if not on par with the Packers. But if it's multiple games, like the 4 to 5 difference, yeah, that's a massive disappointment. Something went horribly, horribly wrong for the Vikings.
Yeah. Yeah, unless the Packers go 15-2 and the Vikings go 10-7 or something. But yeah, if the Packers stay in the 11 to 13 win range, then you should be closing the gap for sure. And if Judd stays in the 40 pounds lost range too, then maybe you guys should go and sign up for Livia so you can experience similar results.
Phil's exactly right. And my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers are the best team in town. Like, let's, forget the Vikings, forget all the other sports teams. Because if you're thinking right now, summer's coming and I got to lose some weight, how am I going to do that? I want to send you to the place that is the first overall pick if you are trying to shed pounds. And with a new Simple Start plan, you can start right now, $59 and receive one-on-one personalized and guided support online or in person from Livia's team of experts. 855-GO-LIVEA, Livia.com. The draft for your weight loss starts today at Livia, LIVEA.com. I'm down 40, feeling great, clothes fit. Guess what? If I can drop the weight, you can too. And the last thing, they'll help you keep the weight off. That's the most important thing. Livia.com.
Yeah, and you know what? The secret is you can still drink a beer once in a while and still lose weight. And Judd seems to balance both with Surly.
Oh, my God. I want to talk about my friends. Surly Brewing Company. And folks, here's the thing. So I went down the street on Friday, walked in the door of my favorite local liquor store, and, of course, greeting me right there were the red cans, the big red packaging of
Big red
Furious.
cans.
Love those big. But you know what else, Declan, I saw? Declan, I looked at the drips and drops. And I thought to myself, the
Big
great thing
voluptuous cans.
when it comes to Surly, the great thing about it, Dex, is sports dad, Furious guy, right? Well, Declan, he's a drips and drops guy,
Yep.
right?
I like Supreme.
Exactly.
I like Hell. I like a lot of the beer Surly has to offer.
Surly,
Love all my cans.
Surly is like a sports team. It's got your favorite player, but it also has complementary players who are outstanding. Check them out today, Surly Brewing.
Yeah. Okay, boys. I know you thought mock draft season was over. I know people are sad
No.
that they're not going to hear "I want a mock" anymore. But listen, there's always a draft to look forward to.
I want a mock.
We already have several 2023 NFL mock drafts out there. Now, I feel like McShay used to have his ready to rock early in the week, and then at one point he complained about it on ESPN and in an article. Like, they make him do it, and he hates to do it. So I haven't seen the McShay one yet. Maybe it's coming this week.
I think he didn't do it last year, and I honest to God, think this. I think it's the Mitch Leidner rule.
Yeah, he had Mitch Leidner as a first-round guy.
Of the Cowboys. And I think that ended it because he just got mocked.
That was bad.
Instead of mocking, he got mocked.
He was literally driving for Uber Eats like a year later.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
The Vikings
And the
Which
Vikings
is
brought
signed
him
him
in.
for like a week.
That's great. Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
great gig.
yeah. But
I like
anyway.
food. I like food.
So we have from the draftnetwork.com, which helped us do our simulations leading up to the 2022 draft. And I think the other thing to note here is the order of the teams. I have not gone through this. We're just going to go until we find the Vikings. Hopefully they got the Vikings picking close to 32.
I was going to say we'll be here in a half an hour. 32.
All right, let's start with number 1.
Yep.
The Houston Texans taking Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud. So that's one quarterback.
Yep.
The Falcons taking edge rusher Will Anderson from Alabama. The Lions taking Bryce Young, quarterback, Alabama. So there you go. Lions have a terrible season, then find their quarterback in the future.
I don't like
Okay.
that.
I'm not going to go through all these, but the Jets, Jaguars, the Giants take the third quarterback off the board in Kentucky quarterback Will Levis. And we have a fourth quarterback off the board at 8, Miami quarterback Tyler Van Dyke. That's 4 quarterbacks in the first 8 picks.
Wow.
Seahawks, Commanders, Steelers at 11, Eagles at 12. Oh, no. Oh, no. The Vikings at 13.
Oh, boy.
So
Who'd they
like
take?
8 or 9 wins. And with the 13th pick, the Vikings take edge rusher Miles Murphy from Clemson.
I want a mock.
Why are you mad about that? I'm
need a
more mad
quarterback.
about the 13th pick then.
I need a quarterback.
not
Somebody
with
give
Kirk.
me a quarterback.
Not with Kirk putting up 4,700 yards in an 8-win season. Not his fault.
Nope,
Not his
never.
fault.
But replace him. It's the replacement plan. The transitional plan, I should say, not
Yeah,
replacement.
but by
The
this
transitional
point,
plan.
you've already signed him probably to another 1-year extension through 2024 here with a full no trade clause and $40 million guaranteed.
I can't do this show anymore.
The
I
write-up
can't
says
do
the
that.
Vikings have a potent pair of edge rushers in Hunter and Smith, but both have notable injury concerns. Murphy is a power rusher that has met high expectations of his high recruiting status at Clemson. Trying to see if there's any other quarterbacks in here for you.
Boston
There's a
College
receiver
quarterback,
run.
right, is fairly highly regarded, I thought. I thought
Yeah.
BC had a quarterback that's...
But those are the only 4 quarterbacks in the first round of this particular 2023 draft. So again, this is not to be held as gospel because we are 362
You know what?
days away from the next draft, but
Give me more tomorrow, Phil.
you got to get to the top 8 if you want a quarterback.
I'm excited.
You want another one right now?
I don't care. I just want more because it's a quarterback deep draft, and this draft was not as much fun as when you do have quarterback carousel.
All right, you want one?
Yeah.
You want another one?
I want a mock.
Give me one.
All right. This one posted this morning from Pro Football Focus, former Bachelorette contestant Michael Renner on the mock here.
Your guy.
And again, the draft order is just as interesting. So he's got Bryce Young, number 1 overall of the Texans. Okay. Will Anderson, so back-to-back Alabama players. Will Anderson, number 2 to the Falcons. C.J. Stroud going to the Lions at 4, so some similarities here. Stanford quarterback Tanner McKee going to the Panthers at 6. That's 3 quarterbacks. Will Levis, the Kentucky quarterback, going to the Seahawks at 8. So 4 quarterbacks in the first 8 picks again here. Bears at 9, Commanders, Steelers, Eagles again. Oh, man. And the Vikings at 14. So they got the Vikings missing the playoffs in both of these. And with the 14th overall pick, the Minnesota Vikings select interior defensive lineman Brian Brissy from Clemson.
I want a mock!
That's great. Just stop. I don't want to do it anymore.
He was the number 1 overall recruit in the 2020 high school class. He just has to stay healthy. He also tore his ACL in 2021.
Oh, that's nice.
Trying to see if there's any other quarterbacks here in the first round. Doesn't look like it. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, Devin Leary, North Carolina State. So the Buccaneers found their post-Tom Brady quarterback in this draft at 31, but the Vikings didn't find him.
I want a mock!
I'm excited about the quarterbacks. And right now I'm not excited at all because you just gave me 2 mocks where the Vikings are typical Vikings.
I'll see if I can find it. If McShay comes out with one, we'll definitely
give me a quarterback. Somebody give me a damn quarterback.
We'll see.
All right.
That's a wrap. Thanks to Federated, too, for helping power this episode of Purple Daily. Just like they help power businesses with risk management tools and resources, you can find your local marketing representative at federatedinsurance.com. These people specialize in very specific industries. And so if your business matches one of the industries that they specialize in, you can find a full list at federatedinsurance.com. Highly recommend you check them out. At Federated, it's our business to protect yours. All right, dudes, that's a wrap on today's episode of Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.